How's it going, everyone? I am Jeremy Alexander, and welcome to How to Make Adverts with Construct 2. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this exact advert, and this advert's a little bit more special than the normal advertisement you might see on a website, but I'm going to show you exactly how to make it and then embed it on your own website. So right here, you can see that it says click here for money. That's kind of ridiculous. So if I click here, it's going to take me to this, which is kind of like a little game here. Now my mouse changed to a target here, and I can click and I can explode these crates, and then, oh, look, there's some money, and I can grab that and my money goes up. And oh, there's some more money, and there's a coin. And there's a bomb. So I can click on the bomb and I'll lose some money. And this was really just a fun way to actually make an advertisement interactable and make it a little bit more cool. But you can obviously make a traditional advertisement that doesn't have any real interaction component, and you can make it just like an actual ad that says, go to this website and click on it. But what I really wanted to show you with this video is more than just showing you Construct 2 and that we can actually make a game into an advertisement, but I also wanted to show you how we can embed this advertisement into a website. So that's going to be the end part of the video. It's not going to be that hard if you've never done HTML before. And all we're going to do is we're going to upload this to an actual host, and then I'm going to show you and I'm going to walk you through how to actually embed this onto a website. So you see here, I have this old page from my website, which is actually still up and running, to join my newsletter here, where I have this now added to my website. And it honestly looks like an actual ad, which is really cool. I kind of like it here, even though it's an advertisement. But I actually think it looks really cool. And of course, you can make this different sizes if you wanted this to be bigger. But I'm very excited with this. It was a really fun video to make. There's a lot of possibilities, especially with Construct 2. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go File, New, and I'm going to make a new empty project. Now, there are standard sizes for your advertisement or your banner that you might want to put on the web, and there's specific sizes for HTML5 banners. Now, I'm going to leave a link so you can actually check them out on Google, but I had them copied and ready to go. So here's how I'm going to put them into Construct 2. I'm going to hit Add Event, I'm going to go System, and I'm going to type in Start for Start of Layout. And then I'm going to hit Q on my keyboard since I need an event to make a comment. I'm going to hit Control V. And now it only looks like I hit 1, but if I hit Enter, you can see that I actually entered in all of these sizes here. And now I can actually see what my sizes are that I might want to do. There's a lot of different banner sizes that I could be making. So what I think I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to actually go to my layout. I'm going to take the first one, my banner, my HTML5 ad banner, 468 by 60. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to my layout size. I'm going to type in 468 by 60. I'm going to hit Enter. I'm going to do the same for my window size. So my window fits my layout size. So 468 by 60. And there we go. So now we actually have, when we hit play, when we run our HTML5 layout, we can see what our banner is going to look like. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be exporting this banner out to HTML5. And since every web browser supports HTML5 now, we have the benefit of using Construct 2. Now, we can make a regular banner or an advertisement, but since this is game design software, we can make it interactable. We could actually just make a game and then put it on our website as a banner. So that's really where the benefit of Construct 2 comes in. It actually gives you a lot of control over your advertisements. You can make a game, you can make a cool, fun ad that then shows what you wanted to show. There's a lot of things you could do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one of those standard click ads where you have like a kind of, your mouse is the gun or the crosshair and you have to shoot a target or something like that. That's what I'm going to be making for this. So let's get started on that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab artwork from opengameart.com. I'm taking it from a studio called Lost Decade Games, which is really cool because they make a Wizards Lizards, which is a popular game on Steam. That it's cool that we have their old artwork from this. It's all royalty free, so I'm going to make a new sprite, and you feel free to make your own artwork. I'm just going to do this for time's sake, and plus I like the artwork. It's really cool. So I'm importing this background as a sprite here, and it's a little bit bigger than our layout size. So I'm going to exit out, and I'm going to resize this. Let me call this object background. And I'm going to resize it to the exact dimensions, 468, of our layout. like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to place it as close as I can to here. I might need to make it a little bit bigger so I can actually just kind of go over. That should work perfectly. All right, so if I hit play, let's see how that looks. Perfect. So you can already see the background to my ad banner. So this is going to look really cool. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click and I'm going to make a new sprite. And I'm going to right click on my animation frames and import from a sprite strip. And I'm going to grab the pieces. So it came with these pieces here and I'm just going to let it do its thing. Let's see how this works. And for the most part, this should work out pretty well. I got $1. We got a timer, a coin, a box. Okay, so the box and the diamond didn't work out too well, but that's okay. I can make do with that. And I'm going to delete the first frame here. And I'm going to exit out of that. And I'm going to have to resize these as well. But for right now, I'm just going to call these pieces because that's what they were called. And put this off to the side when we get ready for that. And then the final thing I'm going to import is I'm going to make a new sprite. And this is going to be our mouse. I'm going to grab our target and we'll get to our explosion later. But now we actually have a mouse to move around. And I guess I can move this just a little bit to be more centered. And I can exit out of that. And that's going to be ginormous as well. But we now have a mouse object for our mouse to follow when the cursor goes inside the advertisement. Okay, so now that we have our objects in here, let's resize them a little bit. Let's go to our target and let's drop down the size here and let's go 32 by 32. And that's going to work out perfectly for us. And now we can see how our game's going to look. And let's do the same for our pieces. Let's make this 32 by 32. And once we're done with that, let's double click and let's add a new mouse object to our project. And once it's done adding the mouse object, now we have some control for our cursor. So let's go to our event sheet here. And on the start of our layout, let's add the action for our mouse to set the cursor sprite from our object mouse. And let's hit OK. And let's go back to our layout here and let's hit save. Oh wait, you know what? I'm going to do that in a bit. But let's hit play and let's see how that's going to work out. Awesome. So we just have to make sure that we put the actual object outside of the layout, but this looks pretty good and it'll destroy when it's outside of the layout. So now it's kind of looking like an advertisement here. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So it's kind of looking like it's an advertisement, and we're going to have to mess around with how it works when we actually go to upload it. But for the most part, this is going to look pretty cool so far. So let's go back, let's exit out, and let's move this outside of our layout, and we can even put the behavior to destroy outside layout. So already, just from doing this by importing graphics and one line of code, Construct 2 is really powerful for making adverts on your website. If you've always wanted to have an advert, or maybe you want to make an advert for your own product, this could be a really fun and cool way to do it. Okay, so now that we have our mouse and we have our objects the right size and it's kind of working, let's go into our pieces here and let's take a look. So I noticed that this didn't import properly, so let me redo that. Let me delete everything that's here and let's go into our image file here, or open our folder for our image. Let's grab all of our pieces and now let me just kind of crop out what I would like. So let's hit crop and let's crop that again. There we go. So what I want to do is I want this box, and you know what? I actually might want this separately. So let me cut this out altogether. Now that I think about it, I might want this as a separate sprite. So let's make a new sprite for it. And let's just hit paste, and then we can click out and hit crop a few times. There we go. So let's exit out and let's call this object crate, and let's resize this to 32 by 32. And let's put this into our frame. Let's control click to make a copy of this. And you know what we could also do? We could actually turn on snap to grid. We could show the grid first and then snap it to grid. And since I didn't do the origin, let me delete my copy. Let's make a new one. Let's go to our origin point and let's quick assign this to, let's try the middle. Let's see how that works. Okay, that's going to work perfectly actually. So let's kind of just space these three out. Let's just say they're like this, and let's hit play and see how they look. Okay, perfect. So this is looking exactly how I had imagined. And now we kind of have an advertisement. We might need some text in a bit, but for right now we have 3 crates here that are waiting for us to use as targets. So let's go back. Let's close out and let's go to our crates and let's delete these 2. And let's give the first one an instance variable just so we have them of crate_ID. Let's give that a number, and that way we can have a little bit more control over them. And now let's copy them again, and let's space them out, and that should work. Okay, so now what I'm thinking is every time we click on one of these crates, the explosion will happen, and what we're going to do is we're going to spawn one of these pieces. We might spawn money, or we might spawn a bomb. I'm not sure. That's, I think, what we're going to do for this advertisement, and we might even do kind of like a build up to the layout. So we might have a way to build up. All right, let's just mess around with it. Let's see what we can do. So for right now, we've given every single one an instance variable of ID. So let's name the second one or the middle one to 1. And let's go over here and name this one 2. So now they're all individual, and now we can have them randomly spawn different pieces to explode into. But let's actually add our explosion. So let's make a new sprite. So let's just open it up. It won't take that long. And let's just grab our explosion. Let's make a new frame, and I'll show you a cool shortcut that we can do to actually crop these out together so they're not totally apart. So all I'm doing is pasting, making a new frame, cutting out the remainder frames, and look, I'm almost done. And there we go, I'm done. Okay, so now I have these explosions, but obviously their sprite's a little wonky. It's a little bit big. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the crop tool, I'm gonna hold down Shift, and I'm gonna click, and that's going to crop every single one of these frames perfectly. Cool. So let's go to our origin, and let's quick assign this to the middle, and let's do that for all. So apply to all animations or just whole animation. It doesn't matter which one. And let's exit out, and now let's call this our object explosion, and let's let's go to our size, and let's change this to 32 by 32, and let's put this over here as well. That works fine. Actually, you know what? Let's turn off snap to grid. And there we go. So now we have our explosion. And now actually, if I just put this here just to see it work, it should work perfectly. Okay, so it needs to destroy after that, but it works pretty well. And we can actually set the animation speed to be faster. But right now what we need to do is we need to go into our event sheet, and we need to make some code for this. We need to set it up so when we click on a crate, it's actually going to explode. So first, let's actually just have our crates be destroyed when we click on them. So let's add a new event. Let's say mouse, and we're looking for on object clicked. And if the left mouse button has clicked a crate, then we're going to say very simply crate destroy. And now let's hit play and let's see this work. Bam, bam, bam. Awesome. Okay, so now what else do we want it to do? We also want it to spawn an explosion. So let's see how it does with spawning an explosion before it gets destroyed. And let's just see. So spawn another object with the crate action. And let's say the object to spawn is object explosion. And since we don't have an image point to spawn to just yet, and we might not need one, we can leave both of these at 0 since there's only one layer. And let's put this right before it's destroyed. And we might need to do a wait. Let's see how this works. So bam. Okay, that works perfectly. Except when we create our explosion, it doesn't really destroy. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say object explosion on created. So whenever it is created, very self-explanatory. What's going to happen is we're going to go object explosion, set the animation, set the speed of the animation. Let's go for 15 frames a second, and let's see how that does. And then after that, we're going to say, maybe we'll say wait for, let's wait 0.15 seconds, and then we will destroy the explosion as well. So let's hit play and let's see if this works. There we go. All right, so the animation speed might need to be slowed down a little bit because it's a little bit too fast. Oops. Let's try doing that at 10. And this is going to be trial and error if you're copying exactly what I'm doing, but you can also just kind of make it work for you. You can make whatever you want with this. And that's really the beauty of Construct 2 and making advertisements or banners. You just have so much control over them. Okay, so that doesn't play the entire animation, and this kind of destroys. So maybe we'll just wait an entire, let's go 0.30 seconds, and let's put the animation speed to 10. No, that's going to be too fast. Let's try 5. So just kind of quick trial by fire here to see if this works. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'll tweak that later. But right now we have our crate destroying and everything is working perfectly. So now let's figure out what we want it to do. Every now and then, if you click crate 0, crate 1, or crate 2, we're going to want it to spawn either frame 0 or frame 1, I think. The rest of the frames we don't really care about. Maybe we'll use the coin. But like these we can just get rid of because I don't have a use for them today, but maybe we'll use the coin. We'll leave that there, and we can actually move this over a little bit. So let's think. How do we want to do this? And let's move the bomb over as well. So we're going to want something that says, click me. Let me click these crates and see what happens. We might want these crates to even move a little bit. So let's see how we can do that first. Okay, so to make this move, let's select the first crate and let's go to our behaviors. Let's add a new behavior. Let's go down to our movement behavior and let's pick sine wave. So a sine wave is just going to move. Usually it's just kind of like this, but what it's going to do is, in this case, our movement is going to be left to right. So you see all these properties here. Now, because we have copied objects, we're going to have to change the properties individually. So right now we have if I hit play, let's just see what happens. When I hit play here, it's going to move like this. And this is actually pretty good. I like the speed of this, and I like the actual how far this is swaying back and forth. And we have control over that. But it's kind of a little bit boring since it's all doing it in the same line, and we want to make it a little bit cooler. Well, we just want to change the speeds of these. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into our event sheet, and we're going to say, let's add a new event for system, and we're going to say every X seconds. So let's say every 10 seconds, 10.0 seconds that this is running. What we want to have happen is we want the actual, let me look at the crates. It's called the period. We want the period, or the time in seconds, for this box to complete a cycle of moving left to right. What we want to do is we want to say every 10 seconds, let's swap it out. So let's go to our crate and let's go under our sine wave properties, and let's set, what is it called? It's called the period. So let's set the period to choose between 1, 2, 3, and 4 every 10 seconds. So let's hit play again, and let's see what's happening now. So everything's at 4 seconds. Now this is going to take a little bit. It's going to take 10 seconds here for it to change. But we should see a change in these boxes. There we go. So now we see a cool change, and now this is kind of making it a little bit more dynamic, and it's making it a little bit more fun for the user, and it's probably going to gauge their attention a lot too. So now every second this is changing again, and all it's doing is it's picking between 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the time in seconds for it to complete a cycle every 10 seconds. So now every single time this is up for every 10 seconds, every single box has a different chance to be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, so now our advertisement's really taking shape, but now we need it to actually spawn something. And if you spawn a bomb and you click the bomb, maybe it's game over, or if you spawn the money and you collect the money, maybe you're winning, and maybe we can have just like a money counter. And I think that'll actually be a lot cooler than what I was originally thinking. So let's actually get started on doing that. So let's start to finish this up, and let's click on our event sheet, and let's say that when our explosion gets destroyed, because that's what we're doing here, let's have it spawn our pieces object that has all of our other elements. So let's add the event, let's go to our explosion, and let's type in destroy. And when it's destroyed, and we'll know that this event gets triggered because we are calling for this object to be destroyed, let's, right before it destroys, let's go into the explosion object and let's have it spawn another object. And in this case, it's going to spawn the pieces object. And let's hit OK there. And let's go back and let's hit play. So now when I click on this box, all right, cool. So it works. It's actually spawning in our pieces object, but it's two things. It's running through the animations and it's actually stopping because we haven't even messed with that object. So let's go and do that. Let's go onto this object. And let's go to our behaviors here and let's actually add its own sine wave behavior. Now, since this is one object, we only have to tweak these values once, and we don't have to limit our motion to be the same as these. Let's try something else. Let's go and try vertical and see how that looks. Let's hit play. And now when I destroy this box, okay, cool. So now it's moving up and down. That's kind of cool. And now I can do that for all of them. That kind of makes sense to me, but I think what would even be cooler is if we mess around with another movement type, and you have other ones that you can change, and you can also change the wave. It doesn't have to be a sine wave. But let's go to our movement type and let's change it to a size movement, and let's see what happens there. So when I destroy this, now it's going to increase in size and then it's going to decrease, which is really cool. And I think I like that effect a lot more for this ad because, you know, ads and banners, they're generally small and they're on a web page. So when you see this, it's actually going to be in your face a little bit more if you accidentally click one of these crates. And you already see the crate moving left and right, so it's going to catch your attention. But now you have these coins here and or bomb or a dollar that are just going to be like this the entire time. So now we actually have your attention, and now what are we going to do from here? Well, we want to kind of make a counter system, and we already have these crates with their own IDs, and that's going to be important for what's going to spawn, I believe. But what if we just did that on our pieces object as well? So let's make a new instance variable, and let's call this our pieces underscore ID, and I'm not sure which one we're going to end up using, but at least we have both of them ready to go. I might be overthinking it, whether we need the instance variables of pieces ID and crates ID or not. Let's go to our event sheet and let's see if this works first. Let's add an event. Let's say object pieces, and when our pieces are spawned in or when they're created, let's go to our pieces and let's set the frame of our animation to choose between 0, 1, and 2. Because if we go into our pieces animation, we have 0, 1, and 2. We could do the same thing with the animation names and we could split it up like that, but this works the same. So object pieces, set animation frame, and what we're going to need to do is, just because it sets the frame doesn't mean it's going to stop the animation. So let's just make sure we go into our pieces object and stop the animation. So now if we play, and there we go. So coin or dollar coin, let's refresh. Let's see if we can get the bomb. Perfect. Okay, so that works perfectly. We might have not needed the instance variables at all, but the instance variables would provide more control over that. But actually what we're going to do is we're going to say if the mouse is clicking the object or on object clicked of pieces, we need a way to specialize which frame is what. So let's hit C on this event. And let's say if the pieces compare the frame, if the frame is equal to 0, so if it's equal to the bomb, and I'll hit Q to make a comment for this event, and let's copy and paste, and let's change this frame to 1, and I believe that is for the dollar. Okay, cool. So this is how we're going to do this. We'll say for the dollar, and of course there are other ways that you could do this, and you don't have to do it this way. Let's copy and paste this. Oops, let's just copy and paste the event. And let's change this frame to 2 and hit OK. And let's call this one our coin. So now we can have different actions for different ones. And now upon thinking about it, maybe the crate doesn't really explode when I click on it, and maybe the bomb explodes when I click on it, which we can do as well. But right now, let's just test this out. And let's say when you click on the object pieces and the animation frame is equal to 0, then let's destroy the bomb. And let's see if that works here, and only for the bomb. So that's a coin. So when I click on this, nothing should happen. Good. And they're all coins. So let's refresh that again. And let's see if we can get a bomb here. That's a dollar. And we're going to have a counter for these, which is fine. Man, I cannot get a bomb here. Come on, give me a bomb. There we go. And perfect, it works. Okay, cool. So let's set it up for the other ones as well. So I could actually just control click to copy and paste this. And even though it looks like a bomb, this is our dollar and this is our coin. So now what's going to happen is when one of these things spawns, I can destroy it. There we go, just like that. But maybe what we want to do is we want to start to actually add in our counter. So let's do that. Let's go to our layout, and let me save this real fast. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add a text object. So let's double click and add a new text object, and let's make the color white. So let's call this text underscore score, and this should give us a lot of control. So let's go to our color and let's make this white so we can see it, since it's a black background here. I don't think we need to make a sprite font. Maybe we do, I'm not sure. You have two options. You can either make a text object or you can make a sprite font object. It displays text using a nice sprite sheet for us instead of having the computer text like this. But let's just see how this works, and we'll see how it looks on an actual web page. so we'll know for next time if we shouldn't use that. So let's just kind of, I guess we should just put this off to the side. So let's put this off to the side, and let's call the text, actually, we'll probably end up setting the text in the every tick since we want it to update. So let's go to our event sheet, and let's double click. Let's make a new system every tick, and let's put this all the way to the top. It's almost getting to the point where I might want to group some things. And let's say every single second, so not every 10 seconds, what we want to do is set the text score text. And we could append the text, but right now let's just set it to maybe score or maybe money collected. Let's just go money. And then let's put a semicolon and a space, and then we have room for a variable here. So we're going to have to figure out what variable we want to make. So let's do that. Let's go to the top here so we can see this. And let me actually group our comment together. Oh, you know what? I actually changed my keyboard shortcut in one of the last videos I made. So let me right click and add a group, and let's call this our layout sizes. And it went all the way down here, didn't it? Let's drag this all the way back up. And let's put this in here just so I have this out of the way. And let's hit V on the keyboard to make a new variable. And this is for our money or our score. So let's just call this our money. And let's hit OK. And let's click out of that. Okay, so now that we have the variable, let's go to our every tick and let's set the text of money and outside of the quotation to the variable of money. So let's hit save and let's hit run and let's see what happens. Okay, cool. So now our money is at 0. And until we tell it to add to that, it's going to stay that way. So now we're getting close to finishing this up here. So when we hit a bomb, we want to subtract money, and when we hit a dollar or a coin, we want to add money. So let's do the adding first. Let's go to our dollar and let's say global variable add to money. And now we can make this random. So since this is a dollar and it looks like a $1 bill, we could pretty much only add 1 to it. But since this is an advertisement, let's add a 10, let's add a 20, let's add a 50, and let's add an 100. Cool. And now for a coin, let's do a little bit different. So let's go to our system, add to our global variable of money, and let's choose between 1 cent, 5 cents, 10 cents, and it's not really going to know the difference, is it? Let's go 0.1. It's going to be a little bit different if I do it this way. 0.5. Oops. 0.5. Let's try 0.10, and let's try 0.50, and we can do 0.75. So it's got a lot of coins to add from as well, which is pretty perfect. Oops. That needs to go here. And let's hit OK. So let's hit save, and let's see what happens now that we have coins involved. So we have 1 cent. All right. 2 cents. Oh man, we're rich. Okay, so since that didn't actually show up there, let's just move this over a little bit, and let's stretch this out. And now let's make sure that that shows up. Coin, money. There we go. And let's even prefix our text. Let's go to our every tick, and let's prefix this after the space with the money sign. And let's hit play. And bam, I got a penny. All right. Man, okay, so now what the bomb needs to do is it needs to subtract. So what we're going to say is let's have, let's go to our bomb and let's go to our global variable. Let's subtract from money and let's choose some numbers here. Now you could do it randomly, or like you could do a random function, and it's just going to mess you up a little bit. So let's just keep doing our choose. That way we have more control over it. Let's say you can remove $100, $10, $20, $30, $40, 40 and 50. So it's really not beneficial to click on a bomb. So, but now we're going to have this problem, and I can already tell you that it's going to go into the negatives, and we don't want to do that. So what we need to do is we need to stop it. So to stop it, let's say system compare variable if money is less than or equal to, there it is, less than or equal to 0, then let's set money. Let's just make sure we always set it to 0. That's our check to just make sure that it doesn't go into the negatives, because no one wants to have negative cash, then they'd be in debt. So let's So there we go. So it just kind of destroys even if it didn't have it already. Let's see. Let's try this again. So I'm not going to click on that bomb. I want $10. Man, now I got $20. And that might be too much. So let's actually subtract less. So we can actually hold on to some of our money. Maybe we'll go 1, 2, 3. No, let's go 1, 10, 1, 5, 10, 15. I don't know. I'm just making this up so we can actually have a purpose for this advertisement here. So I can get 5 cents. And oh man, I can lose all that 5 cents. Let's try this again. And bam. Okay. So I got 75 cents and I shoot the bomb and I'm broke again. So let's make it so now that we have this kind of working, let's actually respawn a crate so we can actually continue to gain money. Let's go to where we destroy our pieces object. And so for our bomb, our dollar, and our coin, let's have our pieces object. Let's see if we can piggyback off of it and spawn our crate. Or respawn our crate. So let's say spawn another object crate, and let's put this on the top here. So right before we destroy it, we're going to have it spawn a new one. And let's control click and do that for every single one. Now, if you were to really make this, you could, make this a function and you wouldn't have to spawn it three separate times. You could just call a function and spawn it once. But let's just hit play and see if this works here. So we hit it and there we go. So it's going to, oh no, just kidding. I was getting confused. Perfect. So now if I hit this bomb, yes, I lost money, but the crate was recreated. Now it's been 10 seconds, so things are going out of hand. Let's destroy the coin and a new crate is created. Cool. Destroy the dollar. It's working perfectly. But I've noticed here that the sine wave is kind of pushing it off, as you see here. So when I destroy it and it recreates it, if I wait until like over here, so if I wait for this middle crate to get all the way over here, then it's going to spawn it over here, and I could just keep going until one of these crates ends up off of the screen. And if it goes off the screen, it's either going to get destroyed. I forget what I did. Let's go check it out. I don't think there is the behavior there. No, there isn't. So you could set it for destroy outside layout. I think what I would like to do instead is I'm going to put the magnitude down. So you have control over the sine wave here, and right now they're all at 50. So let's try putting that down to like 15, and that way it won't move as much, and it might look a little bit more like a regular advertisement and not a game. But if we put it down to 15, at least we can subvert that problem from happening. So now they're not moving as much at the moment here. When we actually change, let's see what happens after 10 seconds here. So there it goes. That looks a little bit better. I'm actually happy with that. And obviously, if I spent a lot more time on this, I could create a way for it could just stay there or spawn back in the same place. It's actually not that hard to do, but we have other things to do in this video. So at least everything is working the way I want it. We have a coin system where we can add coins to our count, and when we choose the bomb, it kind of does that. So let's see if we pick all three. Now we have a choice. So we can grab our money, we can grab this, and unfortunately, if I want to get more money, I'm going to have to lose some money. So it's not really a game, but at least it's a cool advertisement. And let's actually make a precursor to it. So what we're going to do is, let me save this first, and we're going to make a new layout. So let's we can add an event sheet to it. And let's call this one, no, let's just leave it at layout 2. That way I can keep with the names here. But we're going to want this to be our first layout. So let's go to our project properties and set our layout 2 to our first layout. So now when I hit play, this is our first layout. Okay, cool. So let me also make this layout size, just so I don't have to look at all of this white space, to 468 by 60, since our window size has stayed the same. And cool. So now what I want this to do is I want this to actually just act as our first, like our what's the word I'm looking for? Our actual call to attention. Like when you actually go onto the website, you can see this as our ad. So let me drop in our background here. And let's have, I'm trying to think, let's have a text object that's unrelated. And let's just have it, let's say text, and let's make this white so we can see it. And we're going to make this text a little bigger. Let's call this text adverts. And let's make the size of this Let's make it like 24, something a little bit bigger. There we go. And let's just fill out the text. So let's say like, click me. No. How can we kind of like lure people in to click this? Click screen for, click here for game or to earn money. Oh, the G key doesn't want to work. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Let's try this again. Click here for, let's say money, since the G key doesn't work. Click here for money. So that's kind of a blatant advertisement. Let's put create in, and we might have to get rid of the sign behaviors here. Let's see. Let's just see if this is going to work for us. And when I hit play here, click here for money. That's perfect advertisement. That's what everybody wants to see. And nothing works since it has its own event sheet. So let's go back and let's make a new sprite. And let's make this, let's make the width 468 and hit OK. And this can be blank, it doesn't really matter, but this is going to cover our entire screen. And all this sprite is going to do is we're going to call this one object goto. And on this new event sheet, if object goto, or no, sorry, if the mouse clicks the object goto, then I'm sure you can understand where this is going to go. System, and we're going to say, where's the layout? Type in layout. Go to layout 1, because we did it backwards. So let's see now what happens. Click here for money. Oh, okay. Cool. So it's a very, I guess, cheap way of doing it, but this works out perfectly fine, and I expect you to spend more time on this, and you don't have to make a game. You can make a banner, but you have the full power of Construct 2 behind you. So now that we're done with this, we need to get into the more fun part of the exporting and adding it to a web page. To do this, let's finish up our project and hit export. So since we're done, let's export to HTML5 website. And let's pick a place where I want it to export. Let's go to my desktop and let's call this folder exported adverts or something. That's cool. And hit OK. And then let's just hit next, leave everything the same. Except now when we choose the template, we don't need it to be an advert bar style, although that is an option, but that adds space for your game to have an advert on the side. What we're going to do is we're going to export it as an HTML5 embed, and let's just export it as that. I'm going to show you why we're going to do that, because what we're going to do in HTML is we're going to actually just call it into its actual iframe tag. So let's open the destination folder here so we can see it. Now it's going to give us a bunch of files. Now this part is a bit more advanced, I guess. If you've never done HTML, you're going to need a web host for this to work. Once you export to HTML5, you have to upload it to a web host. So I'm sure you could probably upload it to Dropbox or something like that. I actually have my own website that I'm just going to quickly upload it to FileZilla so I can show you how this works. So what I'm going to need to do is open up FileZilla real fast, and I'm also going to open up my HTML5 or just my regular web editor that I use to program my website in. Let me drag FileZilla over here, and this is my website here. So what we have done, let me go back, is we have this exported folder here with everything that it just exported, and it exported it, the HTML5 file as an embed. So it gave us its own index, and if I double click this, it's not going to work because it needs to be hosted. Now I have my own website here that has my WordPress stuff, but I also have these pages down here, which was for my newsletter, which is custom HTML pages that I was using originally. I've since changed it, but they're still up and running. So what we're going to do is we're going to access these pages to actually display this advertisement. But first, I'm going to need to make a new folder, or I'm going to actually need to take all of this information and upload it to my website. So to do this, and I actually have this folder, exported adverts, open to the left here so I can drag it in. I'm going to right click and create a new directory, and this is all in my public HTML directory. If you have a web host and you have FileZilla, then you can follow along with this. Otherwise, you can probably upload this entire folder to Dropbox, and I'll show you why you can do that in a second. I'm not going to upload it to Dropbox, but I'll show you why when we actually get into programming our page here. I'm going to call this exported adverts, or just EA. So now I've given it its own slash, and I'll show you what I mean by that. And let's just drag everything that's in this folder and let's import it into FileZilla or into my website. So now my website is called jwa.com. So now what's going to happen is it's going to, the index file here, this is the file we want. Its location is jwa.com/EA, because that's the folder name, /index.html. So that's how you find this advertisement. Okay, so now that that's done, let's actually go to my website and see if it's working before we actually just make it on its own page. So let's open up a new tab, and let me bring my internet over here, and let's say jwa.com/EA/index.html. Okay, cool. The Construct2 logo has loaded, and here is our file. So the domain is hosted again in the folder EA that I made, EA, and then index.html is right here. And now it has its own link. So now I can just give this out to you. You could literally go visit this right now, and this will be uploaded. Unless I delete it, then it will be gone. But now we have our advertisement. But how do we actually embed that into a web page so it's an actual advert? So let's do that next. And what we're going to need to do is you're going to need to have a way to edit an HTML document. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up WebStorm, which is the program that I use. Let me kind of make this here to actually write HTML code or JavaScript. And what we're going to do is we're going to create something called an iframe. And this is something that you would use to embed your actual game. If you were making a game, an HTML5 game in Construct2, or just any HTML5 game, you would probably embed it with an iframe, or same thing goes with like a YouTube video when you see embedded content. So here's how we're going to do this. If you've never done HTML before, this won't be that bad for you, but you might not understand the other things that are on my screen. Let me show you what this page looks like in my local host here. So this is my newsletter page. So it's not really much of a page, and I don't use this anymore, but this is still up and running in case someone finds that link. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab, actually, again, just a quick recap, even though you've already seen it, is we're going to go jwa.com/EA/index.html. We're going to put this on top of this, and this portion is going to be right here is where I deem that to be, so, or where I want it to be. So to do this, we're going to make a tag, and we're going to call this iframe like this, and WebStorm is going to close that tag with the / for me. And then what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go inside the tag and give it a source. And now, since we've already hosted the actual Construct2 exported file on my website, I can type in that link. So if you wanted to put this advertisement on your website, you could do that. www.jwa.com/EA/index.html, just like that. Now I'm going to give it some other properties that are just kind of standard for our iframe. So let's go over here and let's give it the name equals, let's just call it our advert. And let's say the width. Okay, so we know that our width and height are 468, and our height is equal to 60, just like that. And that has to be the same as the way we made it in Construct2. Otherwise, it's going to have these black border around it like this. You don't want that. So let's also make it say frame border. And now we're just getting into specific stuff. Like we're going to say scrolling equals no, because we don't want people to scroll past it. And in the middle of the two tags, so let me say here, in the middle of the beginning of the iframe tag, I can zoom out a little bit, and the ending, let's have a paragraph tag. So just some paragraphs, so just a text, to see if your browser supports it, because not every browser will support iframes, although hopefully yours does. Your browser does not support any iframes. You can make whatever message you want, doesn't really matter, and we're good to go now. So I could upload this to my site, or I could just preview it in my local host here if this wants to pop up. Give it a second and it will. Oh, come on. There it goes. It's like, where did it go? All right, and let's take a look. Okay, so it's a little bit off-centered. I thought that was where I wanted to put it. Let me see if I can move it over. But it is working. And that's what's really important here. Actually, you know what I could do? With HTML5, I can wrap it in a center tag. So I can type in center, I can cut all of this and put it in. And let's try that again. There it goes. So it's small. This is a banner. You can make it a different banner. I've given you all the banner sizes. You can grab that in the file. But this is really cool. So now I can see that I have this advertisement that's enticing me to click here for money. And then it's like, oh, just kidding. Click here for this kind of, like, what is this? Wow, look at the target's a little bit big, but I like how it's making the shadow on my actual website here. That's pretty cool. But now I know to make this smaller. So it's important that you test in your local host before you actually just put it on your website. But I guess that is exactly where Dropbox would come in handy. If you don't have a website and you're just kind of testing it out like I do, then you can just upload exactly that file. Let me minimize here. You can upload all of this and put it in a folder to Dropbox. Then what you'd have to do is grab the public link for this index file, and then that's what you would put. Where did WebStorm go? Oh no. Hold on. Let's open up WebStorm again. I have so many things open. That's what link you would put. It would say dropbox.com/whatever it is /index.html. And then you can access it. So you don't have to have a website to do it. I just have that at my disposal. So now let's make sure my game works. All right, I got $100. And now I lost $5. All right, let's see what I get now. All right, money. So it's not the perfect advertisement because there are some bugs here that I'd have to fix, but I would spend more time on it. But that's how you make adverts in Construct 2. It's extremely powerful. You don't have to make a game. You could just make, whatever sized banner that you wanted, and you could just make things flash. You can make things move around. You could just have an animation that you made and have it walk around, and then you can embed it in your website. My website is using a framework called Bootstrap, so you can just kind of embed it in that. You could even embed your iframe into WordPress, which is something that I might mess around with and put it on my actual site just so you can mess around with this advertisement because it's really cool. I actually like how this looks, and I like how this is a little bit too big, and I'd probably have to make that smaller for it. But you can see that these borders are just like your mouse is going right to the corner, so we just have to make the sprite a little bit smaller. But how cool is that? So with Construct 2, you are able to make very easy and very amazing interactable advertisements. It's so powerful. It's so cool. Thank you so much for watching. I know this was a really long video, but if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Again, I am Jeremy Alexander, and I'll see you next time.